When thinking about games I wanted to cover for F1 month, I wanted to show Sega's progression through the genre, from their Master System days all the way up to the Dreamcast, but of course it didn't really turn out that way. I had to make some concessions, so like no virtual racing for 32X or Tactics Formula. Instead, I recently got a game that allows me to go really, really far back.
The original Monaco GP. Released in the arcades by Sega and Gremlin Industries in 1979, this early Formula 1 themed racing title was actually one of the very first F1 racing games ever made, only being predated by Namco's F1 from 1976. Though that game was made up more of mechanical components and projection technology to function, that technically makes Monaco GP the first F1 video game in existence. That's pretty cool, and that also makes the game pretty old. So old in fact that the game was among the last games released by Sega to not have a CPU. Instead, the game is run on discrete logic circuits. All the graphics from the game are stored on ROM chips, and all the game's sounds come from an operational amplifier and analog circuits. So if you try running this game on an emulator like MAME, it's not going to work for you, since MAME runs processor-based games, and Monaco GP lacks a processor. The game also used an external LED display to show your score and time, so that would also be a hindrance. Alright, enough technical jargon, you can thank Wikipedia and Sega Retro for that. Also, for those wondering how I'm playing this is a practically arcade-perfect port of Monaco GP on the Sega Saturn from Sega Ages Memorial Selection Volume 2. The collection also includes a bunch of other crazy old Sega arcade games that I'll be covering soon. Right, so Monaco GP. This is as simple as a driving game could possibly get. Don't hit anything, go fast, beat the clock, and don't hit anything. You should also try to not hit anything. It's imperative that you don't hit anything. For the love of God, don't hit anything! Okay, for the first minute or so you can hit stuff, which I honestly think you should, because the crashing sounds are awesome. In fact, the sound is pretty excellent. The loud droning sound of your car is totally rad as you shift gears, and it's only made better by manually shifting into gear with the Saturn Racing Wheel. Yeah, this game makes full use of the Saturn Racing Wheel to fully recreate the arcade experience, to an extent of course. The steering isn't perfectly emulated, but for what it is, it works great. Beyond that, there really isn't much else to Monaco GP. I mean, what do you expect from a game this old? What's here is still fun all these years later. If you ever find the arcade game in any of its many variations, I highly recommend you give it a shot. It may be pretty difficult at first, but it still makes for a fun and satisfying time. And if you're lucky enough to get it on Sega Ages, throw in a racing wheel and drive like 1979.